According to Amnesty International, South African authorities have failed to protect members of the Abahlali Basemjondolo who are said to have been threatened and attacked in KZN's eKhenana informal settlement. Now, over the years, several members of Abahlali Basemjondolo have been killed in what's believed to be targeted killings. Let's have this conversation now. Cassandra Dorasamy from Amnesty International South Africa joins us live now. Thank you so much, Cassandra, for your time. I mean, you say in that report authorities are failing the members of this particular organization. Tell us more.
Good evening, Bongiwe, and good evening to your viewers. Well, the name of the report is Our Lives Count for Nothing, and I think that captures the sentiment that Abahlali is feeling. Over the past 18 years, 25 members of Abahlali have been killed, and that's according to Abahlali's count. And of these individuals, there have only been 2 successful prosecutions. So our research focuses on the latest killings that happened between 2018 and 2022 in the eKhenana commune of KZN. And we focus on that area because of the heightened volatility and increased threats and killings that happen there. But it's a representation of what the broader movement faces. So the first thing to say is, like you said, these are targeted killings, and part of our findings is that at least 5 of the 8 individuals who were killed in eKhenana were killed because of their activism. The second thing is around police failures and the fact that interviewees that we spoke to reported that police did not respond or investigate threats that were issued against their members, did not respond when individuals in their communities had been killed or attacked, and that police did not adequately investigate these incidences of killings. And our report details specific examples of where police did not respond, according to Abahlali. And our report is based on the interviews that Abahlali we've had with Abahlali members, but also consolidated with evidence like recordings and video recordings that triangulate what Abahlali have been telling us and what Abahlali have been saying for years.
I'm going to get to the impact this has on their work in just a moment, but let's stay with this particular area. Did they say in some of the interviews why the volatility continues here?
Yes, so when Abahlali and human rights defenders in general speak truth to power and hold dear the cause of human rights, it threatens people in power. And as Amnesty, we did not set out to investigate who was behind these killings or to identify the perpetrators, but to show the state's failures to fulfill their obligations towards human rights defenders. So Abahlali have told us in the interviews that there's been a complete lack of trust in police because every time they go to police, police do not respond, police dismiss the threats against them, police do not investigate adequately. And that's what we've documented in the report.
Does this, silence their voices over time or cause some kind of fear? Let's talk about the impact that this has on their work.
Definitely, and that's some of what we heard from the interviewees, that this is being done to create an environment of fear, to stop them from doing their work, to stop them from calling for the fulfillment of human rights. And we see this not only in South Africa, but across the world, where human rights defenders are targeted, attacked, and killed to silence their voices, to protect the interests of power. And the state has specific obligations towards human rights defenders to ensure that they are able to continue their work in a safe and enabling environment. The state also has the general responsibility to protect the right to life and to ensure access to justice and accountability where human rights have been violated. And in the case of Abahlali, we have not seen this happen.
And what are the risks then if the state continues to fail on these obligations, as you claim, as you say?
I think it's a dire situation, not just for Abahlali, but for civil society in general and for civic space in general. When attacks like these continue with impunity, it means that people who are interested in the progress of the country and in advancing human rights no longer have the space to do so because their voices are silenced, and people are too fearful to continue to do that work. So in addition to Abahlali, we've also worked with other human rights defenders who have face these types of threats and attacks. And in the case of, for example, Mamfikile Nchangase has been killed and there has still been no justice. So part of our call is for the government to ensure the protection of human rights defenders, because this is a necessary precondition for us to have a thriving civic space.
And when one thinks about, this particular case you've just mentioned of Fikile Nchangase, it's one that really hogged headlines, but also caused a lot of concern around some of, the safety of activists. And not only, as you say, Abahlali, but also, in what you alluded to earlier on, a number of activists across the country and the risks that this poses then. What happens now in order to try and improve the situation for them? Because this is their lived reality.
Yes, definitely. And our primary call for this campaign is for government to initiate legislation that protects human rights defenders, and for that legislation to be informed by the human rights defenders themselves who face these risks and attacks, so that it's something that's grounded in their experience and responds to their lived reality. The second call is for the South African police services to effectively investigate cases of intimidation, threats, attacks, and killings of human rights defenders. And it needs to start at the point of threats, because there is a pattern of human rights defenders being killed after receiving threats. But when they go to report these threats, they are dismissed. And that's part of the pattern that we're seeing in South Africa and globally. So we know the information, we know the research, we know the pattern. We just need police to step up. We need the government to step up and protect human rights defenders.
Cassandra, it breaks the heart to have to, in 2024, speak about the protection of some of the most vulnerable, particularly who are so active in their communities. But thank you so much for chatting to us and shining the spotlight on this particular issue. That's Cassandra Dorasamy from Amnesty International South Africa.